Cheers, Guzzlers. Been even tonight, drinking out the bottle. We're on Singer beer, which I know is Thai beer, but it's the closest I'll get to where we're cooking. Because we're going Korean again. We're going to make a spicy Korean ramyeon, which is actually written, well, sort of written, obviously in Korean it's not written that way, but it's literally looks like ramen, but it's ramyeon in Korean. So we're making a spicy Korean ramyeon beef noodle soup. And Korea, as I think I've told you before, is a very big drinking nation. Must go and visit. So by rights, this recipe should make one of the broths, if you like, from scratch, and the other broth from scratch. And it uses, or the second one uses shin beef or even oxtail, and you would essentially cook this away for about 4 hours to extract all the flavours from the bones and everything like that. This was a bit of a last minute decision, plus I wasn't sure I could get shin beef or whatever, so we're sort of cutting some corners. And the first broth, dashi. Dashi is made by boiling, pardon me, beer's fault, not my fault, excuse me. Better wash that down. So dashi is basically kombu, which is a kelp, seaweed from the sea, which is boiled in water. And I'm putting 1 litre of water in there, but I'm not boiling up the kelp. Alright? Mainly because I didn't have any, and because it was all a bit last minute, I knew I wouldn't get any in time. So I've got a little packet of dashi powder. So I'm going to put that into that cold water, and we're just going to mix that in. Okay, and now we're just going to bring it up to the boil. Once that's boiling, we're going to add, I've got to pronounce this right, I've used this before in other dishes, katsuobushi, dried bonito or tuna flakes. Okay, now you're going to want, for 1 litre of dashi, you're going to want 60 grams. Now the eagle-eyed of you may see it says 40. There's 60 grams because I have already had some and I've just put it on the packet so it's all together. Mainly because it's such light stuff. When I started measuring it out in my bowl, so I've crammed it all in there. So we're going to bring this to the boil, like I say. We are then going to lower it to very low heat, and we're going to chuck that lot in there and let it steep for 15 minutes. So, ramyeon, give me a little translation there, dashi, katsuobushi, kombu. There's some more words that we're going to learn together, but not right now. So I was saying to you, the ramen, it was a Japanese invention, and the instant ramen in Japan was essentially a way of producing a type of ramen, but without a lot of the old fuss, and quick and easy. And so a Japanese instant ramen, and that would use like things like instant noodles, if you like. A Japanese instant ramen is a instant version, if you like, of an established ramen dish. It's not the same with the Korean version. So while we wait for that to come up the boil, what was I going on about when I said it's not the same for Korean? Well, Korean ramen is not a version, an instant version of a Korean dish. It's essentially a ramen that's been nicked from the Japanese, but they use Korean flavours to make it a Korean version. That beer's a bit gassy. Perhaps if I poured it in a glass, I'd give you some gas, but that's boring, isn't it? Yeah, so the Korean Instant Ramen is actually just a Japanese ramen, but putting in some classic Korean flavours, two of which you're going to need. One is this stuff that comes in this lovely attractive box, okay, which is a fermented chili and soybean paste, gochujang. Okay, it is a bit spicy. When I peeled, they had a fall in on that. When I peeled that off, dash on my finger, and I thought, what want it taste like? I thought, I'm putting a tablespoon in there. It's going to be fucking hot. And it says you can have more if you want. And the other ingredient, which I've transferred to a little jar because it was in a little plastic bag. This is essentially red pepper flakes, as in chili. Gochujang. Okay, yeah, that's going in as well. It is a spicy, hot spicy dish. So there are two of the other flavours we're going to need to put in there. There's another thing which is classic Korean. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Still waiting for that to come up the boil. Now I'm turning the heat off simply because I'm going to move my pan on the back. Now, boiling up the kelp, the kombu, sink of beer, actually is a good source of glutamic acid, which is essentially the sort of main part of MSG, which is, you know, common seasoning, if you like, in Asian dishes. Adding this katsuobushi also increases, although to be honest, boiling it up an amino acid is going to denature it, I think. I suppose it's not really a protein, is it, at that point? I don't know. Anyway, you dare splash on Dobby. Splash Dobby. Dobby not happy. Dobby turning you into shit. Behave. Dobby been bad. Dobby gonna have to iron himself now. Good job we've got no iron, Andy. So anyway, I was saying, so by adding this, now let me just turn that back one on and put that one right low. Okay, and we're then going to steep that. Let me do it in my posh timer for about 15 minutes. Okay, 16. Went too far. What was I saying? Oh, so that in acidic acid, which sort of works with glutamic acid anyway. So that's going to steep away there. So now we're going to start preparing the next stage. And for that, we're going to use a Dutch oven. Into my Dutch oven, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil. And then we want to get that fucking hot. So, oh, that's the back one. Oh, I was about to turn that off then, silly bastard. What we're going to do is brown the meat. Get your meat nice and brown. Now, like I said, if you were making this beef broth, and beef broth, beef extract, beef fat is one of the key real ingredients that goes in this Korean ramen. Okay, now this is where if you had like the shin rib, you're going to be browning it all off in here, taking the meat out, and then that would go in back in when you've assembled the rest of it and boiled away for about 4 to 6 hours. We ain't got that time. I ain't got that meat. So what I've got instead is some medallion steaks. Well, it looks like steak to me. Actually, looks nicer steak than a normal steak you buy. And so, once that has got really, really hot, we're essentially searing both sides. Now, we will be returning the beef to this pot at some stage, early stage, removing it again, and then we will also be searing it on like a skillet right near the end. Right? Now I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. I was almost going to tell you about the other key Korean ingredient, but I'm waiting for this. That's sort of gently simmering. So I've seared one bit of beef. Then go these other two bits, because this packet I thought they both had two bits in. The one had one bit and the other one had two bits. So in they go. I'm going to sear on both sides. If this was on the bone, you'd probably cook it for a bit longer. But given it's sort of steak, not on the bone, it's probably only having about 5 minutes max. But you might want to give it at least 10. Both sides, as it were, 10 in total, if you like. So this is sort of searing the outside, extracting some bits, and then like a lot of other dishes, you'll then be deglazing your pan, which we are in a way, or which we will be in a way. So that's simmering nicely. That's searing nicely. I've got here 1.5 litres of beef stock, because I said to you it's important. Beef stock. The beef. Well, technically, if I was doing this on the bone, I would be creating the beef stock. So what I've got to have here, artificial beef stock, as it were, 1.5 litres. Okay. Because if you were boiling up the bones and everything else, you'd be creating that stock. So, starting to get a bit round around the edges, so I'm just going to turn that. So, 1.5 litres of beef stock, and then you're going to want 3 inches of ginger. This would be generous, 3 inches, isn't it? 3 inches of fresh ginger. I've actually got some fresh ginger. I normally freeze mine, but given what we're doing with it, I'm going to leave that like that. You've got 1 sort of large to medium-ish onion, about 6 cloves of garlic. You will want some more garlic, and you're also going to want, at this stage, 8 spring onions. No, they're not green onions, they're spring onions, thank you very much. They're not scallions either. The meat's out, and now I'm going to take my onion and I'm slicing it in half. And I'm just going to remove. All right. That's a signal that that's had long enough. But we're just leaving that there for a second. I'm not too worried about the peel, because this isn't going to be in the final thing. So I'm just going to put that half of onion into there. Cut side down, as it were. Oops, take a bit too much off there, but never mind. Come off your bugger. Now, to enhance the flavours, what we're going to do is actually going to brown the onion and ginger. Now, with ginger, I'm going to slice into 3. I'm going to do it lengthways, I think. And again, we're just going to put that in there. And the idea being, like I say, we want to brown these off. And that will bring out not only just flavour, but also the natural sweetness, particularly that's in the onion. I'm just going to get rid of my peelings. Might have to get another beer out of the fridge. Stick with the one I've got. And then I'm going to roughly chop up my 8 spring onions. Again, that'll end up going in there, but we're not worried unduly about, you know, making it neat and tidy, because all of that will not end up in the final thing. So they've nicely browned. So in here is me roughly chopped spring onions, 8 of them, like I said, and about 6 cloves of garlic. And we're just going to sort of toss them around for a bit. So this is all about getting the flavours for this final sort of broth. I'm just turning the onion over, although I don't really want to turn over. Okay, I'm going to turn that down a fraction. And so we're getting to the point where we're going to start moving some of this broth. Them vegetables have been in there a few minutes now. This is where I'm going to take a tablespoon of the gochujang. Okay, I'm going to add that in there. Now, like I was saying earlier, if you were using shin beef and all that and the other, ordinarily the meat would be in here now, on the bone and everything like. Now I'm just going to leave that in there because we might be wanting to add some more of that later. We want to actually imbue the vegetables and the beef with that gochujang, which ain't going to happen unless I put the beef back in here briefly. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting that in there, and I'm then just going to stir that through to try and get the meat and the vegetables. There's not an awful lot in there, to be honest. Okay, but we're not going to be doing a lot more with the beef, given the kind of beef we've got at the moment, until near the end. So the beef won't really get that nice spicy flavour, will it? So I'm just going to cook that there for a few minutes, in with all that lovely spice, and then I'm going to remove the beef, and then we're going to start adding in the remaining ingredients. So you're going to want some soy sauce, salt, pepper. Like I said, you've got the beef broth, the kombu broth, these red pepper flakes, gochujang, okay, gochujang, yeah, and then this magical, iconic, traditional Korean ingredient, which I have to say I never realised was Korean until today. Kimchi. I'll tell you a bit about kimchi in a minute. At the moment, I'm just wanting to get some of that gochujang on that beef before I remove it, and we get on with the rest. Oh, there's a bit down in the bottom there. Give it a good old swirl. So, time to start adding some of the things back into it. So I've removed my meat, and what we're now going to do is we're going to strain the kombu broth. So we don't want all them bits of bonito in there. We just want the broth, the dashi, if you like. So that's that part of it, if you like. And then here is my beef broth, which ordinarily we would have made when we did the beef earlier. Essentially, we'd have added liquid, boiled up the bones for 4 odd hours, removed the meat like we just have. So that would already be in there. So in goes, whoops, about 1.5 litres of beef broth, and we're now just going to turn that temperature up, and we want to bring this up to a boil, and then we're going to simmer it away until essentially we're ready for the next stage. We want to get all them flavours imbued into it. Okay. So you're going to want some more oil, because what we're going to do is that beef, ordinarily you'd separate it from the bone, and then that beef we're going to crispen up on a skillet. And we're also going to brown, to go with it, some shiitake mushrooms. Okay, I think it's about 230 grams worth of shiitake mushrooms, which we will slice, just mainly so we can brown them all off. And then you're going to want some ramen noodles. Okay, these are like ready to wok, if you like, but obviously we're not wokking them, so I'm going to have to microwave them. Oh, you want some more spring onions as well as a garnish. Oh, and you want some garlic as well. But let's have a little bit of a tidy up. Oh look, Dobby, fill me bottle up. Thank you, Dobby. Right, so I've got that broth simmering gently on the back there, partly covered. Okay, and we're going to eventually, not long now, we're going to strain that into another pan. I might have to chuck it back in there, depends, I don't know, big enough, if that's going to be big enough. Okay, because we want all that crap that's in there out of it. We just want like the soup. But into that soup, we're going to add meat. Oh, I've also got another little pan on here. I'm just bringing it up to the boil because this lambion, like some ramens, is going to have a soft boiled egg. So we're going to boil some eggs in a minute. So anyway, into here. Come here, don't be a bugger. I don't want to put that. I'll put that there for now. What we're going to add into that is about another 5 or 6 garlic cloves. So I might as well do that now, get them out of the way. And then we can add a tablespoon of these red pepper flakes. Like I said, gochujang. So you want a tablespoon of them. In that goes. That's then done with. Oh, now the kimchi. Now the kimchi is essentially fermented vegetables, but it's not just fermented vegetables. It's spiced up a bit. Good chilli in it. All right. So what we're going to do, we are going to be putting, or we are going to be using the kimchi in our final dish. But what we're going to do at this stage is just filter out the liquid. Like I say, I didn't realise kimchi was Korean. I sort of kept coming across some of the channels I follow and some of the suggested channels, apart from all the fucking ads that YouTube keep putting in, or suggested sites that are absolute shite. I don't want to know from Dr. Fuck knows who that this is no good and this is good and fuck knows what. Equally, I don't want to know about fucking Minecraft, although I must admit I haven't made much of that for ages, but other shit like that. If algorithm was any good, it'd notice that all the channels I subscribe to on this particular channel, that my channel, is all like cooking related. So I don't want to know about some fucking medical condition or what other shit. But anyway, one of the things that did come up, which is part of the cooking, was about fermenting vegetables. Now, there's about 128 different vegetables that the Koreans will use for kimchi. You can have loads of different kimchis. But at this stage, all I want is the juice. And we will be coming back and using the rest of that kimchi, like I said. So that's in there. That's ready to go. To filter that into, strain that, sorry. Science had went on then. To filter, again, strain that into there. And then you're going to want some spring onions, about 4. So in total you can use about 12. They're going to be chopped up in a minute. and we're going to use them as a garnish. So, I've got a pause there. I need to wash my hands because I need to pick my beer bottle up. And it probably might be a bit spicy. Because that's going to be a bit of a bastard to pick up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to initially ladle this through the sieve, especially when it's going to fall to bits like that, so that we end up with a nice clear broth, whatever, in the other pan. Now at that point we can check the seasoning. We might want a bit of salt, might want a bit of pepper, might want a bit of gas. It might also want a little bit more of the gochujang and the gochujang. But we'll see how spicy it is. Okay, so like I say, at this moment we just want to get all them bits out. We just want it to be a nice clear soup. Now we assemble this quite a way, just like any other ramen, although it's a ramyun, where we begin sort of putting bits, if you like, into a bowl. So, you know, there'll be the noodles in there, then this broth goes on top, then we'll be adding the garnish, we'll be adding the mushrooms and the beef, but we haven't done the mushrooms and the beef yet, remember. We've still got to prepare those. So, I'm just going to get all this sieved through and strained through, and it may be that I end up tipping it back into that Dutch oven simply because of the room. But all we're going to do now with this broth that we've sieved, strained, filled, is just keep it warm. We're not doing any more to it, if you like, other than, like I say, perhaps seasoning it and adding a little bit more of the Korean special ingredients. Depends how spicy you want it. If you like it nice and spicy, you add lots. If you don't like it nice and spicy, don't add any more. So before we add any extra seasoning, we're going to add a tablespoon of soy sauce. Okay, and obviously that's going to add a little bit of saltiness. So it may be that we decide we don't want to add any more salt. So let's have a little taster. There's definitely a hit with the heat. I don't know which one of those is contributing to that. I was going to say I might add a little bit more. By the way, if you were doing this from scratch with the bones and everything, you may want to skim the fat off. But we haven't really got any. Right, I think we'll leave that. It's not that spicy really. But I think we'll leave that there, because I think if I add any more, it's going to be a bit overkill. So, all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to turn that off the heat there. We'll put that at the back there, and we just want to keep that warm. Stay on, you little shit. Okay, we should leave that on a gentle simmer. So, we've got our noodles to do. I've sliced up the last remaining spring onions. So the next thing I want to do is slice up my shiitake mushrooms, and then we're going to need a skillet, because I might have to turn that off in a minute. What we want to do here is brown our mushrooms and also crispen up the beef. So we're going to need to slice our beef up. And also, of course, we've got our kimchi to add in at the end. I'll need a little bit of oil when I come to doing crisping my beef. But other than that, pretty much there. Dobby, I might need another beer. So I've added about another tablespoon of oil to my skillet, as it were. And I'm now just slicing up these shiitake mushrooms. I think I said there's about 230 odd grams worth. Actually, there's about 250 in here because each pack was about 125, but that doesn't matter, does it? And what we're going to do is, might have to do it in batches as well. We're just going to brown them off in that oil. Now, if I had a bigger skillet, once they're browned off, we'd then chuck the beef in, but I ain't give them enough room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brown these off in batches, probably transfer them to a plate or a bowl, and then I'm going to take my meat and we're going to then sort of slice that up, and then we want to get it sort of crispy. That'd be fun. Well, the trouble is with mushrooms, they do tend to absorb the liquid. So we're probably going to have a bit more oil in there when we come to crisping up the beef. But at the moment I'm just sort of tossing the mushrooms around. Okay, I've got my broth there. Oh, I'm going to cook. My eggs are done and they're just waiting. I will do my noodles because I'm going to just do them in the microwave. They only take a minute. So once we're sort of at the stage where we're browning off our meat, or rather crisping our meat, rather, sorry, you've already browned our meat, then I'll cook my noodles. And then we'll just want some bowls. Now I should point out that this is to serve like 4 to 6 people. Mustn't mention the word 4. Oh, I did it again. In Korean, or Korea, 4 is unlucky. So like in, you know, England and other English-speaking countries where 13 is considered unlucky, and you get, you know, like there is no 13th floor in some hotels. You know, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. In Korea, you won't find a 4th floor. They would normally just call that 1, 2, 3, F, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the reason being that the characters, I don't quite know what the language is, but the characters that make up 4 also make up the word death. Hence the reason that 4 is considered an unlucky word. So this makes F to 6 portions. Right, I've had to add some more oil. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take my meat and we're now just going to slice it up. If you were doing it off the bone, it might not... Oh, I'll take my finger off there. It might not be quite the same. These are Italian steaks, they're nicer looking steaks. Now, all the crap that you normally get in steaks. I'm just going to cut it in slices like that. They might be a bit on the thick side, or sorry, not thick side, long side, given that they're going in a bowl, but that's up to you. If you do it off the bone, it'll probably fall into smaller bits than that anyway. So we're just going to chuck that in that hot oil. We're going to fry that off. Like I say, we want this sort of nice and crispy. And then essentially it's just assembling it. So then we'll get our bowls ready. So we'll have our broth, our beef, our mushrooms, I'll put the noodles in to cook, kimchi, spring onions. Oh, that's it. Oh, Dobby found me another beer. Thank you, Dobby. So it's time to start thinking about assembling this now. So, first thing we do into each bowl is we put the noodles. Okay. You might want a little bit more than what I've got in here per person. Up to you. Our beef is getting nice and crispy. The next thing we do is we take our soup or broth, if you like, and we're now just going to make sure that we completely cover those noodles, bearing in mind that we are going to be adding the other ingredients on top. Okay, so that's that one. Now, this is what they call an instant ramen, or in case of Korea, instant ramyun. And it may not seem to take an instant, but obviously normally you would have everything prepared so that when you're ready, you're then in a position to assemble it. So our next thing, so we've got our noodles, we've got our soup. We're now going to add some beef. Okay, and we sort of, in a way, sort of spread it out a bit. Well, not spread it out, sorry, you know what I mean, is as in, I'm putting my beef on one side. Okay, so that's done. We're then going to add some of our mushrooms. Okay, whoops, in this case, anywhere they probably like. Bearing in mind that this is for up to 4 people. Okay, and then we've got our kimchi. So we now add some kimchi to the mix. Now you are looking, I mean, the Koreans do love their kimchi. And that jar is actually a little bit less than what you'd have for 4 to 6 people. And then, I keep thinking I'm missing something. And then we're going to add some of the green onion, spring onions. Dear one. Okay. And there then, I think, eggs. Got to get the eggs out. So there's the egg. The egg's a little bit more done than some people might like. They might like it a little bit runnier. It's a bit funky, not this one. So let's dig in. It's very much a bit, a dish of bits, as it were. Quite difficult, obviously, to have a mouthful of everything all at once. Let's try the beef. I'm getting the gochujang through, and the gochujang. Beef's a little bit on the chewy side, but then bear in mind we've used steak rather than do it the other way. Let's try a bit of noodle with a bit of kimchi. First time I've ever had kimchi, I think. Oh, it's got some meat on it. So, overall, a nice hot and spicy. Beefy dish. What more can you want? Well, my beef would be nice. Oh. Really choke your mouth off. And there you go. Your spicy Korean ramyun beef noodle soup. Better go through the wife now.